Alright, so, finally watched Castlevania Season 2, and before I get into it, let me give you guys a spoiler-free review, quick one, and then I'll be giving you guys a spoiler talk, you know, going more in depth, what I liked, what I didn't like, and also, what, you know, the future of the show has in store for us. But yeah, regardless, let's get to it. Castlevania Season 2 is more of the same, but in a much better way, because whereas Season 1 was essentially a direct-to-DVD movie just, you know, shoved out as a season, they pretty much crafted this origin kind of like precursor story to what could happen. And well, Season 2 is now finally what is gonna happen. So, as you already know, Season 1 and Season 2 are based off of Castlevania 3. And, well, while they do take some liberties and they do omit some actual characters from the game, it's still great. And honestly, again, more of the same, the same cheesy dialogue mixed in with actual, you know, serious moments. It kind of feels like a B-movie, or in the sense that, you know, it kind of doesn't mesh well, but at the same time, you accept it because of how ridiculous stuff is. And also, being adult-themed, the gore is cranked up to 11, whereas Season 1 was brutal. This season, they just keep stomping heads. And I mean that literally, and it is brutal. Every single action sequence, while are kind of spaced out, which is good for pacing-wise. I mean, too much action is also a bad thing, but also too much, you know, nothing is also a bad thing. The pacing is all fantastic, but, you know, when the violence hits, it hits hard, and my god, is it just... For a person who enjoys just gore, at the same time also enjoys this kind of, you know, like, action-packed, you know, gothic, violent kind of stuff, it works so well, and it's a visual treat. Other than that, going back to like the writing, the characters are well fleshed out. I really enjoyed them more in this time around, and with each character getting somewhat like of a backstory, you know, just initiated and kind of shown, it really makes you, you know, it doesn't feel like it's shoved in there, even though it kind of is. I mean, a lot of the, like, the side stuff, you know, a lot of expositions like, oh yeah, this is what happened to me, like, okay, so we're gonna find out what happened there. But by the end of the exposition, you're like, oh, that explains a lot. And while it could have been probably a little more subtly introduced, it's still well done to the point where you care for the characters, or, and you know, the opposite side, hate the characters with everything you got. But on top of that, all the antagonists you actually empathize with. You can see how, you know, what makes them tick, what makes them, you know, the way that they are. Besides that, animation's fantastic. A little choppy in the animation. It feels much more like an anime than anything else, especially this time around. I don't know what like really changed, but like, you know, it just looks really good, and honestly, I had a blast watching it. What else to say? The plot. Obviously this is a spoiler-free part, so I'm not gonna spoil anything, but yeah, it's good. I mean, if you've already played the game, you already know the ending, you already know what's gonna happen, but through all the nuances and, you know, the creative differences they, you know, changed from the actual main game, it's nice to see that, you know, with creative control, that the writers were able to, you know, create something very similar to the actual lore that we know and, you know, love, but create their own thing that makes it, you know, rise above the actual games. It makes it its own freaking TV show, where if you don't even play the Castlevania games, it doesn't really matter, because this is its own thing now, and you can accept and you can just enjoy every single bit of writing and every single story turn that they decide to do, and it just works. That's all I'm really trying to say. So yeah, final thoughts. If you watched Castlevania Season 1 and left with the, you know, feeling of like, oh, I wanted more, you know, that kind of felt like, you know, it was like a beginning, well, it was. And here is essentially the ending to that beginning. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but yeah, it all works together. Season 1, Season 2, that was Part 1, this is Part 2, it all works together. Having said that though, well, there's gonna be Season 3. And that doesn't spoil a thing, especially if you don't know anything about the actual story, but it's just interesting to see where they can go with it, especially the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But yeah, it's fantastic. I enjoyed it. I recommend it. The music, also, I didn't even mention that, but the music is fantastic. The voice acting is fantastic. Everything about the auditories, I didn't even mention that, is great. Audio, visuals, story, great. I enjoyed it, and as a fan of the series, the actual game series, this is just a breath of fresh air to finally see something that came from a game that was adapted into, you know, a television show that actually works. I can't recommend it enough for adults. Don't show your kids this. While, you know, there isn't any nudity, I never understood why the hell nudity and violence it's stupid. But don't show your kid, because this is either going to give them nightmares, it's going to teach them how to curse, or it's just might be too intense for them, because this show is, again, as I mentioned in my first review, it's made for the fans of the original games that grew up. And my god, is it worth your time? Well, that's a spoiler-free review, and yeah. I'm gonna start talking about spoilers here, so thank you for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys hopefully when you come back after you watch Season 2. If not, you've already watched it, and you're here just to talk about, or hear what I have to say. So yeah, spoilers. 3, 2, 1, let's do it. Holy shit. So yeah, obviously, if you play the game, I mean, you kill Dracula, so that's obvious what happened. But what happens to Hector and Isaac is what's more important here. And these are brand new characters, the two Forge Masters, that they're in the next game, Curse of Darkness. That was for the PS2. And while they do, I'm glad they also mention, at least, you know, in like a kind of a cameo way, they mention Lament of Innocence, where, you know, they mention Leon Belmont, which, if you've played that game or you know about the story, Leon Belmont was actually partners with the original Dracula, who was originally a vampire hunter, but he changed his name and became, you know, Vlad Tepes. So, with them already, you know, at least cueing in that they are following somewhat the same continuity as the games, at least, you know, the main continuity, the next one is definitely Curse of Darkness. And in this case, they've set it up. I mean, the main characters of that series, or that game, is Isaac and Hector. While there is a small little, you know, gameplay kind of aspect where you could play as Trevor Belmont in that game, they could easily make, you know, Trevor Belmont a much more important character. But the way they left him and Sypha, where, like, you know, they go off and they do their own thing, we could obviously, you know, have a nice, you know, couple episodes where we follow their exploits. But it seems like the next, at least if they continue with this show, hopefully they do. I mean, obviously setting up Season 3, but they will follow Curse of Darkness, and the main character will now become either Hector, or we follow Isaac, which would be probably cooler because he's the villain in this version. And whilst Hector, you know, is the villain who became a good guy because, you know, obviously if you watch the show, you knew that he, you know, went against what Dracula's wishes were. Although with the new character Carmilla, that could easily be changed, so in a weird way, we might be following Carmilla and Hector going up against Isaac, which is two forces of evil essentially in this case. But it's weird because I don't know who you'd root for, because obviously, you know, they both hate humanity, and Isaac just wants to eradicate humanity, whereas Carmilla also wants to eradicate humanity, but they're two going forces against each other. So it really comes down to a trifecta where it'll probably end up being, you know, Trevor, Belmont, and Sypha again, you know, battling them out. Probably give you a nice little, you know, hint at Alucard, or, you know, nice little cameo, because Alucard, I feel like by this point in the story, has been used up and he's now out. Oh, and if they also decide to change things up, don't worry, because, you know, the following stories are, you know, like centuries down the line. I doubt they're going to, you know, follow Christopher Belmont's timeline story, because it's... Who cares about Castlevania the Adventure? I mean, it's a fun game, but whatever. No, part 2's better. Whatever. Sorry, I lost it. But yeah, Rondo of Blood and... Right, I'm an idiot. Simon Belmont. Before Rondo of Blood and before Symphony of the Night, Simon Belmont, you know, Castlevania 1 and 2 happened. Well, hopefully they just follow 1, because I don't... They could do something cool with 2, but just hunting down his body parts would be kind of boring. Whatever. All I know is right now, I'm excited to see what they do in the future. Curse of Darkness, they can do whatever the hell they want with it, but as long as we get, you know, the next seasons to follow Simon Belmont, and of course, Richter Belmont, I'm set. And in that case, I feel like they are also done with Alucard, because in the upcoming games, he doesn't really play any real role in them, so, I mean, that's kind of what they did. They kind of gave him, like, a concrete ending. Stay at Castle, you know, Castle Dracula, and, you know, just be the new caretaker of that place. So, that could be your new home. You sleep there. From that point on, all the way up till Rondo of Blood is when he comes back. But yeah, let me hear you guys, you know, opinions or comments. Just tell me what you think's gonna happen. Are they gonna follow the actual plot? Are they gonna change things around? It don't really matter. All I know is the writers know what the hell they're doing, and the show is spot on. That was very rambly. Definitely need to give this more little structure, but at this point, I decided to make this video on a whim. Regardless, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And speaking of Symphony of the Night, I'm gonna play it again. So, yeah, see you guys later.